again to the Real Collective podcast. I'm Brendan. With me as always is Sean. If you're having a good time on these episodes, please like, subscribe, and share the channel on YouTube. That would be great. Or this video, that would also be great. If you want to talk to Sean or I, we have our Calendly links below. So you can book an appointment with us at your leisure or leisure, depending on how fancy you want to be with that word. And we will talk to you about whatever it is that's on your mind, hopefully real estate related. We are not licensed therapists. So if you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, give us a download there. And if you're not, glad to have you here on the YouTubes. We have a guest today. We have Azita. She's going to take us through a lot of the home insurance or building insurance type things that are very important to know about and very handy to know about, because I'm not one of those people who knows much about it. So, Azita, thank you for being on the show today.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me. And I am an actual licensed therapist. So if there is any other question beside real estate, I would be more than happy to address them while we are here.
Oh, perfect. This will be a 3-hour show now.
There we go. So thank you so much for having me. This is a great opportunity to educate your clients and your customers about home insurance. So over the next 10-15 minutes, I talk a little bit about what insurance brokers are all about, what value we bring to the table. And we'll walk through who's asking for the home insurance. We will have some difficult scenarios that we were able to insure. We close the session by example or any questions that you might have throughout the session. As you said, it's very informal. So if I say something that would trigger a question, please interrupt me and I would try to address them as we go through this presentation together.
Sounds good.
That's great. I with Halloween right around the corner, I thought it would be appropriate to talk about, one of the scariest things that we deal with as real estate agents. So insurance is definitely one of them. Just kidding. Not at all. Azita, full disclosure, you do a lot of insurance stuff for my house, my car. And one thing that our clients might not know is that you're on our professional service providers, our partners list. And because the level of service that you've provided to me going through the process of insuring properties has just been excellent, and I truly value it. So I'm happy to have you here on the show, and you've done up a great presentation. So I'll screen share the slides that you've sent. If you're listening to this on Apple or Spotify, you won't be able to see it, but we'll see if there's a way that we can link the slideshow to it. So we'll jump right into it and see if I can get this shared properly. Cross your fingers. All right.
There we go.
That's sort of it. This might be.
That is, I don't think that's the first page.
No, it's not.
So as you're trying to figure that out, Sean, I wanted to say, just go back to what you had said. I know what reputational, how much reputation plays such an important role in your business. So thank you for trusting me with your clients and with your business. And rest assured that any referral that has come from your team to myself and my team would be top of the mind, and they will get the best protection that they deserve through us. So that's how I wanted to just address that as we go through this. And so the first slide is here, difficult insured properties. So if you were just kind enough to go to the next. And so I'll cover this. We'll talk about the insurance brokers a bit, who's asking for the home insurance. We walk you through some homes and properties that were not easily insurable. I'll provide some examples, and then we'll open up for any discussion that you may have at that point in time. So why choose an insurance broker rather than picking up the phone and calling TD or RBC or any monoline provider of the insurance? So what we do is we actually work for you, your client. We work for the client. We don't represent any insurance company. So when you come to us, we'll go and shop on your behalf, and we try to find the best comprehensive protection at a reasonable premium. What we do is we find out from our client what is top of the mind or most important value. Sometimes clients just want the least expensive protection, and I've heard that many times over the years. And the price is number one value, so that would just guide me through as where to go and what to shop for the clients. So the quality of the service and ease of doing business is our value added and what we bring to the table.
And that's exactly what I mean, is the ease of doing business, to be able to, there's, if you're working with a big corporate insurance company, the hoops that sometimes you'll have to jump through to get to the answers, holding on the phone for 20 minutes, half an hour before you get to speak with someone. The person you speak to doesn't have the answer. They forward you to a senior. The senior person has to bring it up the chain to someone else, and it's 3-4 days before you get your answer for a home or auto insurance claim, or even just a question. But Azita, I can call you and you will answer the phone, or I'll text you, and you get back to me within the day, and it's really great service. So
thank you.
That's a big time value add, and that's something that as the Real Collective, that's something that we're modeling our business the same way, right? Is providing that same level of quality of service to our clients.
Absolutely. The most valuable piece of thing that we have is time. So if I can save you even 5 minutes of your time during the day so you can attend to something that is more important to you, whether it's family or business, we're all there. And I know that you do the exact same thing for your clients. So we value your business, and we actually mimic what you offer to our client as well. So the next slide will actually talk about who's asking for fire insurance. It's the mortgagee that wants the fire insurance. So who's the mortgagee? Is the bank that you go to. So oftentimes that's when I get involved, the very last minute closing, that the lawyer is trying to close a transaction, and the insurance, the mortgagee, the bank is asking for the insurance. Why is it? Because unlike auto, the home insurance is not mandatory. Every one of us that drive, that we all know that we have to have auto insurance, but home insurance is not mandatory. It's the protection that the bank or the mortgagee that is asking that makes it mandatory for the mortgage to go through. So often, if the house doesn't have an insurance, you will not even, if the property is not mortgaged, it's not financed, you will notice that the lawyer would never ask for the insurance. So that's the use of the property. So here, the use of the property is exceptionally important. The most important element is getting a property insurance, that you have to be transparent and honest with your insurance broker. Often over the past year, I have been faced with situations where people say, yeah, I purchased a property, I'm moving into it. Only for the later on for me to find out that the property is under renovation, or it's tenanted, or they've already flipped it and they forgot to mention it to me. So why do I want to know? And why is it that we are asking for that question is in a very situation that there is a claim that is going through for that property. If the actual use of the property was not disclosed in getting that property insurance, in the case of claim, the insurance company would come forward with mispresentation, whether it's done knowingly or unknowingly, and would deny the claim. So that's where I normally ask 5 times, oh, Sean, you're really moving to this property? And then I ask it again. So what are your plans? When are you actually moving? Or did you change jobs in different scenarios? To me, it's very important, because when I disclose that information to the mortgagee, I'll just say that the amount of the insurance that is required, that the property is insured. I will never disclose the type of the property insurance. So rest assured that being honest with your insurance provider should be top of the mind, because the claims would not be honored in case there is something that happens, and which often it does happen.
Yeah, transparency is so important, right?
Absolutely. Okay, would you please? So here are some of the properties that are harder to insure. So that the slide that you're showing on here would talk about why is it that it's difficult to insure some of the properties. So number one is older builds with original utilities, anything that is built beyond 1940 and no updates. Homes that have prior claims, properties that have multiple mortgages, and private lenders. Private lenders right now is a very sticky situation for the insurance companies. Some of them will have zero tolerance for providing insurance with private lenders. Some of them would make an exception for a year or so. and some would have no problem with having private lenders on title. So the other difficult properties to insure are tenanted properties with multiple units. The other ones are higher rebuilt value, and the last one ends with commercial property use within a home or residential properties.
Got it. Not just a straight commercial, but if you have a commercial component to your residential home.
For instance, someone such as yourself that may be conducting business from home, that becomes that part of your home becomes a commercial property use where you may have clients coming in and going out of your property and increases your liability.
Right. Fair. No clients come in or go out. They all just come in through the computer. So let's talk about a few different cases that you've worked on.
So I often find out that when I give the real life examples, people can actually resonate. It resonates with people much better, and they know what we are talking about. We tend to use a lot of jargons that may not be familiar to average client. So this one is actually a Mexican restaurant that I insured myself. This tenant put about $385,000 worth of leasehold improvement. Wow. So in this case scenario, like he had 85,000 solar panels that he put on and $300,000 worth of leasehold improvement for the inside of the restaurant. Who do you think should be responsible for insuring this $385,000?
The tenant?
The tenant, perfect, yes. So in this case, I represented the owner, who was only responsible for the building. So the tenant has to have his own tenant insurance and recover the $385,000 through his own insurance. And I only insured the building for this particular scenario.
Right.
Often there's a gray area. They think it's the landlord responsibility, even though that the leasehold improvement is always relies on the tenant, not the landlord.
Yeah, that makes sense.
This is with the way things are right now with our real estate market. The rebuilt or the high value homes is just has gone through the roof, because what traditionally used to be considered as a high value of $1.5 million has now increased. Average price in metropolitan Toronto is about $1.5 million. So anything above $1.5 million is considered high value. The slide that you have on your screen is showing a home that is actually in Richmond Hill, Ontario. It's about 12,000 square feet. It's a custom built home. The rebuild value at that time was $3.3 million, $80,000 worth of landscape and $65,000 in-ground pool. What I have to mention to my client right up front is anything over $1.5 million has to be personally inspected by the insurance company. People are normally hesitant when the inspector are coming and visiting their house. And I always say this is actually a good thing, because someone from the insurance company came and has seen your property, so they know the premium that they're charging you is an accurate one. Again, in a case of claim, no one can see anything because they've seen it. They know the premiums are done based on the appraised value of the inspector. So this is a good topic to have when people are purchasing a home that's more than $1.5 million.
Yeah, I don't know how you got a picture of my house.
I think the house is actually better looking than this, but I'll take that.
That's very much like if a home inspector misses something that's right out there in the open and it ends up being a fault, something wrong with the house, at least you have something to fall back on there. So yeah, having someone come through the house kind of should put you a little bit at ease.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so Brendan, you were bang on, which walks through our next slide, which on this slide you have a picture of a Nauban tube, which is very visible through the basement of this property. And so this is the electrical wiring is exceptionally important when you're insuring a property. The homes that are built in 1920s are mostly the major concern right now at this point in time. We know the updates has been done, but sometimes the connections have not been totally disconnected. So you may have live wiring within the ceiling or within the walls that are not apparent, which only will will be done or would be unrevealed through the inspection. So on this slide, we have the home that is built in 1920s. The first floor, obviously, because the ceiling is not covered, would show that has about 30% knob and tube. The next thing that we want to cover is that what we are looking for as an insurance broker, we are looking for the breakers and the copper wiring, or at least any updates that has been done over the last 20 years. This picture, the knob and tube, is not acceptable, but most insurance companies have had cases where they have made an exception where they provided us temporary coverage for 30 days or 90 days, depending on the years of the building, until the electrical wiring has been up to date. The quickest way for anyone to find out is just look at the aluminum wiring for the wire jack that comes through the house, and we're looking for aluminum or alcan, which is it has to be written on the wiring when it comes inside the property.
Yeah, so there's two different types of wiring, right? One is this knob and tube wiring, which we've got a picture of it here that looks like there's knobs around, and then there's tubes that go through the joists, and then there's the different type of wiring that we see more in houses that are built in the sort of 70s and 80s, right? That when you go to look at the box, you can see that the wire running out of it is typically green, and it'll sometimes either say aluminum or alcan. And then in those cases, to get insurance, you'll have to pigtail the wiring, right? I think aluminum wiring is easier to get over because it's easier to pigtail. But when you've got knob and tube, you have to go through the whole house and tear it all out. So it's
absolutely. So as a realtor, that's where the value added for you is obviously you are very competent and you know exactly what you're looking for. So when you are showing a property that you will immediately notice that they may have or they are in need of some wiring or the electrical update, that's where you have to point that out to your client. And when we are having a discussion, then that's for the insurance that would kick in as well.
Sometimes you'll see, like, you'll go in the basement, you'll see that sort of knob and tube. You'll see the knobs and tubes left, but no wires running through it. And you can see, okay, well, that was uninstalled. And sometimes you'll see some wires, but they're dead wires, like there's no power running to them. And the easiest solution at that point is just remove the dead wires, right?
Absolutely. And the easiest solution is for you as a realtor to put an inspection clause in there. I've seen over the last year where people are looking for quick closes. In a hot real estate market, people tend to oversee and kind of skip that step of inspection. And after they move in, they've now noticed that something has happened. I had a claim that was just denied last month because of the wire, the knob and tube wires. The main reason was that the client did not follow the utmost good faith. Most of the insurance companies' policies are based on utmost good faith. What does that mean to us is we did our best to present the information that are available to us, both as a client and as an insurance broker. The insurance company was able to prove that the client did know, however, did not disclose that information to me, that the house had 10% knob and tube that were still connected inside the walls. They find an inspector that had provided the client with the reporting 2 years prior to them purchasing the property. But the client thought that because the wires were inside the walls and no one knew, they did not disclose that to me. The house got on fire halfway through renovation, and $450,000, the clients did not get their money back.
Yeah, it's, again, transparency and disclosure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I just had that with a rural home where they had knob and tube, but completely updated electrical. But because it's a crawl space basement, all the knob and tube wiring was still in the floor joists. It just hadn't been removed, but it also wasn't connected to anything. So good thing, like you said, we had an inspector come in and we took a look throughout the whole house and there was no signs of anything in there. So that's what you can do. That's how you protect yourself.
Absolutely. This is one of my favorite slide. This is a real life scenario. So what you're seeing on that slide is student housing. This is actually York University, York Village. This property I had originally insured as a home insurance. which then later on I find out has to be a very good client of mine. We were talking about it, and she said, well, remember that property that you insured for me last year? I have actually now rented to 12 students. And I said, hold on a second, let's back up a bit. And you told me you're moving in with your daughter because she's going to Europe. And she goes, yeah, it didn't work out, so we moved out, and now we've rented it to 12 separate students. So this would have been a major disaster. Insurance company at this point in time, they don't ask for whether this is a legal or illegal student housing. Of course, if the claim comes in as a result of illegal, something that had happened that caused the fire, the insurance company would back out. But at this time, this home is properly insured for 12 tenants. There are 2 kitchens, 4 bathrooms. We have, of course, short-term rentals because it's 8 to 12 months. And the actual income for this property is $96,000. Her premium increased from $1,500 to $2,500, but rest assured that she is now fully protected and insurance is in place.
That's great.
Yeah, there are. So you just have to find the right insurance provider for this niche market. What you are now looking at, this slide number 5, is exactly like electrical. Plumbing is exceptionally important. We are looking at a corrosion on galvanized piping, which has caused the pipe to burst and the client to put a claim forward. So over the past 10 years, water damages has been number 1 claims in Canada. And with the way the weather is going and this global warming, I'm pretty sure that it has actually will remain number 1 for years to come. So on this slide, we're talking about the buildings that are built in 1980s. Most of the 1890s, most of the 1890s home, they have used galvanized steel as the pipe. Right now, after 60s or 70s, any houses that are built in the late 80s, they're mostly using copper. In order for you to find out as a realtor whether the house has galvanized, you just have to find out where the pipe would enter the house, kind of scratch the piping, and if it's the penny color, of course, it's copper. If it's steel or gray, it's galvanized steel. So the major problem with this case scenario is the corrosion would actually plug the pipes and the pipe would burst, and we will have a water damage. So it is important for us to know that the house is the piping and the material that is used for the piping.
That's that sort of goes along with that knob and tube wiring, right? Is you get into these older homes and it's just older building technology.
Absolutely.
And a lot of the people who are buying these older homes, if they're not going to be renovating, then there's definitely some things that they're going to have to do, to bring it up to par. So that's
perfect.
Yeah. Cool.
And that's pretty much what I had for today. I think I'm bang on the 10 minutes that I was allocated to me.
Yeah.
Yes. Those are just some typical scenarios that I'll come across throughout the day, but I'm sure that there would be many to come, and I'm sure that there are each case. We'll look at each case individually, and then we'll find the right protection for anyone.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right, so we'll take a quick break, and then we'll come back and do a quick little wrap up, so you guys can like, subscribe, and share on the YouTubes, and also download us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And if you're on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, come find us on YouTube and rewatch this. So that would help us out too. All right, we'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
This episode of the Real Collective podcast is brought to you by Real Collective. Real Collective brings together best-in-class real estate agents and collective experts in the field to deliver the best possible service to our clients. We govern ourselves with honesty, open-mindedness, and compassion. With diverse skill sets, our agents are able to better serve a wide array of clients, including first-time buyers, first-time sellers, transferees, estate sales, investors, and rural, vacation, and luxury properties. properties. Authenticity and transparency are pillars of our process, which allows us to put our clients at the center of everything we do. Our years of experience and knowledge allow us to deliver prestigious service and optimal results. If you are interested in buying or selling your home, contact us today at realcollective.ca.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Real Collective podcast. I'm still here with Azita and Sean, and we're going to do a little bit of Q&A before we wrap things up for the day. Sean, you brought up a good point, and you wanted to bring that up. And you were talking about how most of the examples were Toronto properties.
Yeah. So, I think a lot of the work that you've done over the years, it has been in Toronto. But I just wanted to make sure that people realize that, okay, with the way the world has gone recently, you're able to offer your services, across the province, and specifically for us here in Ottawa. I don't know if you've got a lot of policies here, a lot of binders here. I know you've got ours, and one of the things that RE/MAX Hallmark collectively has done really well is put these solutions in place. So we've had Mitch Corman on, who does, Corman and Company, and he does the legal aspect for us. We've had some people from Capital Home Lending in Ottawa here on the podcast, and now with insurance. These are all different arms of RE/MAX Hallmark, and it offers us as agents a really great sort of one-stop shop for all of this stuff. Has your business grown in Ottawa over the last 5 years or so?
Yes, it has. So thank you for asking that question and pointing that out. So I am licensed in Ontario. The last time I checked, Ottawa was part of Ontario, unless they have now moved to Quebec totally. So yes, I will include some of the Ottawa examples. What I have noticed in Ottawa is the age of the property seems to be mostly concerned. I have come across some homes that are now designated as a heritage home. That has made it much more difficult to insure in Ottawa versus Toronto. But rest assured, whatever example that I have used in Toronto are applicable in Ottawa as well. And the only difference that I have, as I said, noticed is the age of the property in Ottawa versus metropolitan Toronto.
Yeah, we've got, I guess, it's different, right? We've got some stuff that's a bunch of stuff that's built in the 70s, but then we've got a bunch of really, really old stuff sort of in the middle of the city, which is tough.
Correct. Yes. So the student housing that I had shown, I've now noticed that because of the way the houses are built in Ottawa, most of them are now being purchased and turned into multi-units. And that's where that comes into play. Not so much as a student, it's as a short-term rentals. Some people are using it as Airbnb, which just what happens is the provider would be different. Not everybody is into the market with the short-term rentals, and heritage homes become a second layer of difficulties in insuring these properties, in addition to the short-term rentals.
Right. No, that makes sense. And that was the other piece in the first section. You were saying, when we converted the home to 12 students renting, at the time it was easy to switch that insurance over. With Airbnbs, are you running into more problems these days? Because you're right, we're seeing more short-term rentals. We work with a bunch of investors, right? And so we're seeing a lot of that.
Correct. So over the past 5 years, most of the insurance companies, or what I call the level 1 insurance providers, have now shied away from short-term rentals and student houses. So for instance, that house originally, the one that I had insured, was with Intact, and Intact was very receptive in getting into short-term rentals and student housing. As the claims are coming through and they've noticed that this is not a niche market they want to be in, if the client is grandfathered, they stayed with it. If not, they will not accept any new clients. So then we have to go to the secondary market and find a provider that is actually willing to take a chance and take a risk for that particular property. So that's what I said at that time. With Intact was very easy, switching from one product to the next. But currently, most of the providers are shying away from short-term rentals.
Yeah, that makes sense. Short-term rentals and students beat up the property. And so insurance companies are like, no, thank you. We don't want this extra headache. I get that.
Yes.
Makes a lot of sense. Cool. Well, that's all I had for sort of follow-up questions. I think the presentation was super helpful. Bunch of stuff that we covered off. So thank you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thanks.
Absolutely. Yes. And if people want to find you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
My email is much easier. It's azita@remaxhallmark.com, or they can just get in touch with you, and you can direct them to me.
Perfect.
You're on our website on realcollective.ca under the partners tab under insurance.
Perfect.
There you go.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Awesome. So we'll have that down there in the comments. We'll have a link to that. We'll also have our Calendly link. So if you want to talk to Sean or I about that or anything else that you might need, there you go. Book an appointment in there. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the channel again for the last time. Please and thank you. That would be great. On YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. I'm Brendan McKeigan. This is Sean Tasse. And until the next one, keep it real.
Collective.
Collective.